Good evening, guys. How are you all doing? Okay, hope you had a fantastic long weekend and hope you've celebrated Krishnashtami with joy. Okay, I'm sure you've got some enough time to practice the sessions that we have completed so far. So just remember one thing, guys, it's all about interest and practice, as I've told you. You can really achieve heights in this field. I really work with some, freelancers and they earn more than what they get in their offices. This is absolutely not about money, but it's all about the passion that you have got in your field. So, money really follows us. They really don't go behind money. So please install Photoshop from adobe.com website. So whoever has not installed it yet. So the subject is like mostly practical. You might feel easy and you might feel as if you've pretty understood everything, like whenever I'm doing a practical session out here. But when you actually start working on the software, that's when you will actually end up with some breaks, and then you will really get some doubts. So I definitely help you with understand all the tools, tips, tricks, and then techniques along the shortcuts. But we also have the time constraint, right? So we might not go deep into the various options that are available in the tools. So I really want you to install the software and then play around with your options. They are like really fun to work with. You can change the opacities, tolerances, brushes, etc. Just explore all the options and then see what you can do with Photoshop. So now, just because it's been quite a long time since we had a session, I think it's been like 3 days, right? Yeah, that's right. It's been 3 days now. So in our previous session, like we'll just quickly understand like what we have worked on. So we have seen working with the history brush tool, where without undoing, we have seen how to go back to the last change that we have done. Then we have seen the art history brush tool. If you remember, we have put a black layer on a person, and then we have made him look like a paint canvas. Then we have covered the eraser tool, the background eraser tool, and the magic eraser tool, where the eraser tool will simply erase the background by leaving the color on it. The background eraser tool will smartly erase the background. We have to make sure that the foreground is protected, and the magic eraser tool simply selects the background and picks up the color wherever the cursor is initially placed and deletes the background. So basically, this is not ideal for some complicated images. So this is basically good for some clean backgrounds. So in today's session, we will understand more about the manipulation tools. Here we go. This is what we are going to cover today. The blur tool, sharpen tool, smudge tool, the dodge tool, burn tool, and the sponge tool. And in creation tools, we are going to cover 2 tools for today, which is brush tool and one is pencil tool. Okay, let's go back to our Photoshop. Here we go. So I'll upload an image for you now. The same image that we have worked on the other day. So I'll say Control O. Here is my image, so I've uploaded it. When you upload an image, actually, you can see whatever file name that you have given. This is my file 1, so you can actually see the file name that you have given along with the percentage of the RGB out here. Okay, now I'll quickly go here, select the blur tool. So these whole set of tools are actually, self-explanatory. So this blur tool is basically a brush that blurs images edges as you drag it around. Okay, so now if we want to blur her hair, all that I'll have to do is select the blur tool. Now my size is like very small, the cursor size. You can actually increase the size by going here, or you can directly use the keyboard closing bracket, and then I'm trying to increase the cursor size. Now if I want to blur her hair, and I can just drag it out, you can gradually see that the hair strands are getting blurred away. Now this will help me to partially decrease the focus on her hair and make her fair make her face into like focus area. So I'm trying to blur her hair and make her face stand out a little bit more. All that we will have to do is click and drag the blur tool and make her hair blur. So if I try to apply on the same area, all that I'm doing is like blurring that area more and more. So I'll just have to make sure that I don't blur it too much so that it looks awkward than what it used to be. So we can also select the initial strength of this blur tool by going into the tool options. Now above your screen, you can find the strength. You can increase the strength or decrease the strength to make sure your like blur is like more effective. If you increase the strength, your blur would be like more visible, that you're blurring it completely. If you just decrease this, it means it will get blurred, but it will slightly get blurred. And the focus area would be decreased, and your eye focus would be more on her face, just because I'm trying to blur her hair around. Okay, just see, I'm just trying to blur it out. The more I blur, the focus would be reduced. Okay, so this is how blur tool works. Basically, even in your smartphones, you will have an option of portrait mode, right? So portrait, what does it do? It mainly focus on one single image or particular foreground image, and whatever is there in the background, it blurs off, right? So this tool works in a similar fashion. Or whenever a photographer would like to edit an image, this is what they do. If they want to remove, if there is a possibility wherein they cannot remove the background, so this is what they do. They try to blur the background so that the focus would be more on the main photo. Now let me just go back to the toolbar again. I'll just right click on this blur tool and then I'll go to the sharpen tool. Okay, the sharpen tool does the exact opposite of the what blur tool does. I'll just drag in the area where I want to have the more focus. So my cursor is like very small right now. It's the same case here. If I click on the close bracket, the cursor size actually increases. I can also do it by going on the options above. So if I want to put more focus on particular area, this is when I use the sharpen tool. Okay, so it basically sharpens the edges and also the colors. Okay, and then it is like, however, very easy to overdo it. Let me just show you. I just want to have like more focus on the lips area or probably the eyes area. Let me just go with the lips. I'm just saying Control plus, just zooming it out. I'm just trying to drag this portion. I have just overdone it. That means what I've done more than what is actually required to increase the focus in this area. Hence, my color tone is actually getting changed. When I'm just overdoing it, just look at here. I'm just trying to overdo this. Just trying to click it again and again. So instead of putting the more focus, it will instead chop down the colors to their purest form of the produce. And it actually gives you a lot of color noise. What is color noise? It's something which actually distracts your eyes and which goes away from the actual color, is like color noise. So sharpen tool is best used in very, very, very small doses. So whenever you want to sharpen something, just click twice or thrice. Is when you overdo it, it actually peels off all the color here, the original color. So if you want to make someone lips dry, whenever, probably this is the best way. If you get a chance to work for any lip moisturizer ad, probably this tool is what you can use. You can actually show this picture as before one, and then you can actually put some lipstick out here and then showcase that as the after one. So if you want to make her lips look very, very dry, you can use this sharpen tool and slightly touch up in the area. The lips looks very dry. I'll just try to show it again to you. So this is my original image. This is my history tab. If you remember, I'll just go to the original image. Just trying to click the blur tool, sharpen tool again. Just trying to do this. See, I've just done it once, so I can see the color intensity has increased, and also the focus area, the focus has increased. So if I overdo it, I can actually make her make her lips look so very dry. So this is how it is. So you will have to be very careful even with the blur tool or this particular sharpen tool. Don't overdo anything. Just do as much as is required. So if you want to just undo your just previous selection, you will have to press Ctrl Z. That will only do your just previous selection. So if you would just want to go back to the original images, go to the history tool and then just click on that wherever you want to edit. Now this is done. We'll go back to our tools panel, right click on the sharpen tool, and I'll just go to the smudge tool. Okay, this tool actually is pretty fun. You can use a very strong smudge effect for a very large area, or you can decrease it. You can decrease the strength for a very smaller area. It depends upon the area you want to focus on. I would also like to decrease my cursor area for now. I can use the open bracket for this. Either way, this is like fun tool to mess with. I will show you how. So now we have selected the smudge tool. What if I want to if you want to correct some parts of the body, or if you want to correct something, you will actually use this smudge tool. Now that her lips are like perfect, we don't have to correct her lips. But what if her lips, or what if some other part is like dull? So we use the smudge tool just to increase it. I'm just trying to increase her lip line. So previously it used to be like this, and now I'm just trying to increase the lip line. I can do anything I would like to. For some people, the eyebrows or probably the eyes might not be in a perfect shape. So I can actually put my smudge tool out here, and then I can drag. The eyes looks more attractive. I can do anything with this smudge tool. It really looks attractive. Okay, if I want to correct something, I can use the smudge tool. If I want to edit something in very detailed manner, then I will have to press on the open bracket to reduce the cursor size and then start working on it. This will help me get into more details. Now again, if you see the options here, right? If I enable this finger painting option on the top, it's by default not active. So if I try to enable it and select a foreground color, you remember this foreground color and background color, right? Just going to the foreground color. I'm just trying to pick up something. I'm just trying to put a bit darker shade to what I've picked, and then I'm saying okay. I can actually paint on her face, or rather I would say you can smudge on her face with color, as if you're fingerprinting. Now I just have checked the finger painting. I've just selected the foreground color, and then I have increased the color range. Now I can actually smudge on her face. I can actually paint on her face. It's the same like how we apply the foundation on the cheeks, right? So this is what I can do. Pretty neat, right? Can increase the cursor size, and then I'm just trying to smudge over. This actually helps me if you want to correct some faces. These are basically manipulation tools, right? Manipulation tools are for us to manipulate the incorrect images. Incorrect images are the images wherein the some of the parts are really not correct. Not correct in the sense, not in the biological terms, but when you look at a picture, it should stand out, right? In order for a picture to stand out, we will try to manipulate the images. So this is Probably by using this, I can actually give her some cheekbones and then look her more perfect than she is. Pretty great, right? Okay. But you know what? Skin can be very, very temperamental in images. And sometimes if you want to mix some minor changes, you can wind up, ruining the skin tones and making things look more awful. So you will have to be very, 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 neat and clear when we are using some manipulation tools, because if we overdo it, everything is like gone. If you underdo it, there's actually no, use for that. So skin is like really hard to work on. Be very careful. Enough. We'll just go back to our tools panel. We'll select the next set of manipulation tools. We'll click here and select this dodge tool. DODG, dodge tool. This dodge tool allows you to target different tones of color and brighten them up. To remove some shadows on her neck, let me select. See, if you see, the neck of her has some, grayish shadows, right? Now I just want to remove them off. I can use this dodge tool and then I can remove them off. I'll paint around using this dodge tool now. So if you observe clearly, her neck is getting more whiter than it used to be, right? I should not overdo this because it looks really fake. Okay, so there used to be some brown shadows on her neck, so I have removed them up. This tool basically brightens something up. So you can see in the top tool options, under the range, we have this midtones. This means the tool is currently targeting areas that are neither very bright nor very dark. Okay, instead it is falling somewhere in the middle. Okay, I have the other options too, but default range is set to midtones. So let's change this to shadows. Instead, now I can finish the darker areas that I couldn't finish previously. Shadows will basically remove the other shadows that are there, which were not removed by the midtones range. Great. If we go up again, in your options, we have this protect tones. This protect tones is basically not checked, but I've just checked it out. Okay, this is especially helpful when working with skin because it works to preserve the colors of the tool and any focuses on the brightness of the area. Now, there's a lot of difference when you check this and when you uncheck this. When this is checked, that means whatever you're working on, the color tone is protected. It will not overdo the job, but then it will make sure your color range is within the tone that is actually there in the image. Okay, this is how it works. Now let's go back to the toolbar. I'll right click on the dodge tool. Then I'll just go to the burn tool. So this burn tool works exactly opposite the way that dodge tool works. Okay, it darkens the area without brightening them. So the dodge tool, we can dodge the shadows, and with burn tool, we can burn them deeper. So let me just show you how. If you see her area, the area under her eyes is like becoming more dark, and I'm just trying to use the burn tool. So dodge tool, it basically brightens up the area and it will make the picture look more neat and perfect. Whereas this burn tool, the name itself tells us, so it will try to darken the areas. It actually works quite opposite to the dodge tool. And with burn tool, we are burning them more deeper and deeper. I will now shadow some of the portions below her eyes, and you can see what I mean. Probably now you are able to see the areas under her eyes have become more dark. Probably when you're trying to work for, some images wherein you want to showcase a person to be like very dull, or a kind of a poor look to the image, then this burn tool is the best option. So as designers, we try to work on different categories of images. It is not always that we want to brighten up an image, or we want to elite the image. There are always options wherein we will have to focus the image. So for such things, this particular burn tool will give you like a better option. You can reduce the cursor area and then work. Probably that's when you will be able to detail it much better. So just to help you better, I have I have overdone the burn tool, but you don't have to overdo it. Be very careful when you're working with the skin tones. Okay, we'll again go back to the tools panel. I'm clicking on the next set of tools, which is the Smudge tool. So this tool works very differently from the other tools in this layout. It affects the saturation of the image. Just remember, it affects the saturation of an image. So up in the tool options, the mode is actually set to desaturate by default. So when we brush around, you can see it's snapping away. It's snapping away all the color and of a face, and actually it is making it appear more like a black and white image. So changing, so let's change. Okay, let me just put some more desaturation on her face. So the name itself tells us, right? Desaturation. For something, the original color, we want to desaturate it, decolor it, rather, I would say. So now let me just make it saturate, and then we can see the opposite effect. Slowly her eyes have become visible to me. Slowly the blackness is going, and the tone of the skin is like coming out, just because I have overdone the job. So it is giving the opposite color. So it depends on the desaturation level as well. So I have more desaturated her color, hence the saturation is like becoming more tough. Okay, it makes this saturation actually makes the colors more vivid in the sense more brighter than they used to be. So the flow option on the top will serve actually as the tool strength. Okay, the higher it is, the more work the tool would be doing. You can actually find out the more we have desaturated the area, the harder it is for us to resaturate it with this particular tool. So just because we have desaturated it more. So when the option was set to desaturate, we have clicked here like more than 10-15 times, hence all the original color was gone. And then again, when we are actually trying to resaturate it, like bring it back to the original color, it is giving me more darker shades. So be very careful, even when you're trying to desaturate it. Do not overdo it. Do it 2 or 3 times, and then just try to see the effects. If you want like more color to be there, just click on the flow, and then you can find more color. So it is right now set to 50%, and you can actually set to 80%. This basically works like a strength tool to this particular Smudge tool. So be very careful when you're saturating and desaturating the images. So just because her original skin tone was gone, so it is actually mixed with the background. When I'm trying to resaturate it, it is trying to mix with the background color, and it is giving me a orangish look on her face. So this is how this tool operates now. So with this, we have understood how to select pixels of an image. So we are basically done with the manipulation tools. So we have understood how the pixels work. We have understood how to select some pixels from an image, how to manipulate the images using different tools. Now let's understand how to create something on Photoshop right from the scratch using some creation tools. So let's go to the creation tools right away. So I'm just closing this image for now, just saying no. So whatever we have done so far, we have picked the images from the internet, and then we have put up on Photoshop, and then we have tried to pick some pixels from that particular image, and then we have tried to manipulate those pixels, or we have tried to manipulate the images that are already there. So from now, with the creation tools, we'll try to understand how to create something from the scratch. So since we'll be like creating something from scratch, I will now try to make a very blank document for you. For that, I can either go to File and I can say New, or directly from my keyboard, I can say Control N. Control N is actually for New Document. So when I say Control N, a box appears in front of me. So for now, I'll just say this as example. I'll put it as it is. I'll say default Photoshop size. So my width is 16 centimeters, height is 11 centimeters. These are like predefined from Photoshop. Whenever I select something, I'll get the dimensions. For an example, I'll select web. The width and height have changed into pixels. Previously, they used to be in centimeters. Now they have changed to pixels. So we have some predefined options out here. So for now, I'm just selecting default Photoshop size. This is my width, this is my height, and my resolution is 28.346 pixels. Color mode is RGB, background contents is white. Now, just because I have CS5 in my laptop, I don't have an option here to select some custom background color. For now, for people who use like CS6 or CC options, they will have an option here itself. They'll have a small box wherein they can select the background color. Okay, now I'll say white. I'll say okay. So I have my canvas out here. Now all that I will do here, just because I don't want to work on a white background, and just because I use CS5 and I don't have an option right before creating a document, I'll just go to edit. I'll just say fill. I'll just say color. So I'll just select something which is like very light. Okay. And okay. So I've got this color. So now I have my canvas ready with the blue color option. So for people who do not have CS6 or higher versions of it, if you want to have a background color, you can pick a white background, and then you can go to edit, and then you can go to fill option, and then you can define your custom color. Okay, now I will go to the brush tool out here. So this is my brush tool. Look at the size, it is like more, right? I'll probably click on this open bracket and I'll decrease the size of my cursor or my brush. So this is done. So before I start brushing, I would want to make sure it is going in a separate layer, leaving my background aside. So this is my background, which is locked by default. So I don't want to paint here. I want to paint in a separate layer. I can go here and then just click create a new layer. So this creates a new layer. So this is basically empty. So this is my background layer, and this is the layer that I just created. Okay. So now, if you were like following all my sessions since beginning, I'm sure you've have a head start of how brushes work. like in, quick selection tool, the healing tools, the clone stamp tools, history brush tool, and, eraser tools. In all these tools, are the examples wherein we have utilized some basic brush technologies. The difference between using this brush tool directly is that, the options for application becomes, practically limitless. So in all the tools that we have seen so far, in, selecting tools are probably the, manipulation tools. We have, seen how brush works. For an example, in clone stamp tool, when we click on a particular area and then when we try to, do the same thing in separate area, the content in that first area will be picked to the second area. So this is basically the technology of a brush. So we have, seen how a brush works in all these areas. Now I will, try to use the brush in a default stage on my new document, or probably at the new layer. So this is how it is. I'm just trying to brush out something, or probably I'll just decrease my brush size more. Then I'll again brush it up. You see, my brush area is coming into the color that is there in my background. So if you remember, this is the foreground color and this is the background color, just because my foreground color is selected in the skin color. So whenever I'm trying to brush something, the color is like getting popped up. Okay. Now you can see that we are using a very small brush with a very soft edge. So let's check out more options out here. So I'll just go to the brush preset picker tool. So I have so many options out here. Now probably I'll select this third one. 1, 2, 3, the third one. Before I select this, I can increase the size of the brush here or here. I can also work with the hardness. Okay, the tool that I just want to select is the flat, blunt, short, stiff tool. And then we'll try to brush with this. You see probably I'll just try to zoom this in and then try to change the background color for you to clearly see what I'm doing. Very thin layers of, paint is coming out on my canvas. So you have different tool options here. You can pick any of them and just try to understand how each brush works. You can actually see the difference between this particular regular brush and this particular brush. It becomes completely different from the standard default brush. It doesn't stop here either. Just go back to the brush preset tool and there are many more presets. Here we go. So I've just selected this third tool and just trying to brush out on my canvas. So you have different tools out here. See, each tool works in a different format. So you can just go here and then explore anything and everything. Okay, for now, let me just clear off everything. I'll just go to the new layer again. So here is my clean and neat canvas again. So now I'll just try to explore a few options for you. If I want my canvas to have some leaves, I can do this. I can stamp it out. See, my canvas has some leaves. For an example, I want my canvas to have some stars. I can do this. As I've told you, we are creating something from scratch. So if you want your canvas or if you want your layout to have some stars in it, you can pick up this brush and then you can put some stars. You can increase the size of the star, of course, by using the closed bracket. See how I've created the canvas. So it's up to your imagination and up to your interest, whatever you want to create. So this is how I've used this, and you also have some other options as well. See, they are great brushes to explore. Very cute and very nice, right? Great. Now let me just click on the icon out here. This is called the preset icon. The icon that's there here, right here, beside the size bar. So there are entirely, set of brushes out here. They look and function in completely different shapes. It really shows this exhaustive list really shows you how much diversity Photoshop has to offer us. So, it's really nice to have all these options. So this is what actually I'm talking about. Please go through each and every option when you're just trying to practice. Just go to every other option and then just try to see how they work. Each option has a different functionality altogether. So I just want you to explore all these options. Great, enough. So this is done. This is my canvas that I have created. Now, what if I want to create a brush by myself? What if I want to create a brush very new completely? Is that possible? Yes, that is. So let's say I want to make a brush out of all the strokes that I have made. Okay, so I have used like 4 or 5 brushes to make this canvas, right? I have used some star brush, I've used leaf brush, I've used this some leaves, some small trees brush to select to make this canvas, right? What if I want this entire thing to be one brush? So with one brush and one click, I should be able to create this entire canvas. So is it possible? Yes, it is. So let me first, for that, I'll just have to select the contents of this particular layer. For that, I will have to click on Control and then select. I'll have to click on Control and then select the layer. So what I've done is like clicked on Control and then selected the layer. So if you see, my cursor has now changed. So I've clicked on Control, I've selected the layer, and then I'll just go to Edit and then say I define brush preset. So I will just say New and just say OK. So if you see, my cursor is now loaded with the brush preset. So all the elements that are there on my screen, so these are the I've created these elements like the stars, the leaves, the small plants. I've created using different brushes. Now I want this entire thing to be there in one brush. So I have selected all these elements by clicking Control and by clicking on the layer 1. So now then I've gone to Edit. Then I've said, say define, brush preset. Then my cursor is now loaded with this brush presets. Now what I'll do is I'll just go to this layer 1 and I'll try to delete it. No problem. I already have my brush preset out here, so I don't have to worry about it. Now, I will now click here and I'm trying to add a new layer. So my new layer is added, which is completely fresh. Now my preset is like there. So this is of this size. My preset is of my canvas size. I can either decrease my preset or press here. I can click here. So see, all the strokes have come up. So in a single click with a single brush, my strokes have come up. So I have my star strokes, I have my leaves, I have my plants, I have everything that I have selected in the first. I can actually decrease the size of my cursor by pressing the open bracket on my keyboard, and I can actually press here. Just because I have decreased, my canvas is not clear. So it has come in a very small box just because the pixels are very less. So it has come in a very small box. So if I increase it, see, I have my, again, all my brushes in a one single thing. Just because I have saved my brush preset, it will get saved here. So these are all your brush presets, whatever you have saved. So this is how it works. Just give me a second. Yes. So I still have it on my cursor. So you can say Control D to deselect everything. So it will be gone. So there are also many options to play with. You can see that not only we have like bunch of presets on the right, just a second. So we have the modes, we have the opacities, we have the flow, which defines the strength. We have many options here. So now I'm just trying to click here. So I have this open for me. So this is called, so we have brush presets here, we have brush here, and we have clone source out here. So we'll just try to understand this brush particular, window out here. Apart from the brushes that we have here, we also have something wherein we can individually set. So if you see here, we have a lot of options wherein they differ from their nature. So let's not get into all of these now, but I'll just give you a brief of what we are dealing with right now. So first one is this shape dynamics. So when clicked, it will replace our preset bar with this particular option of shape dynamics. So this is here. So this is size jitter bar. So this is the first option that is there for shape dynamics. So size jitter basically means the amount of randomness. So if it is like 0% jitter, it will stick to the original design. Let me just get back to this 0% jitter. So I have like squares ready for me, right? So when it is like 0% jitter, when I drag it, so this is how it would be. So when it is basically 100% jitter, that means the randomness is like more. You have more randomness. So jitter is nothing but the randomness that you calculate in your Photoshop. When 100% jitter being the completely random picture. So when you brush with this option, the size and shape randomly changes. Just trying to. When I'm just trying to brush with this, the shape, the size actually changes. Wherein if I put my jitter to the 0%, it again changes. So this is how the jitter works. And this angle jitter changes the angle of the rotation. See, probably you can see it here. If my screen is not clear, you can see this example option. When I'm just trying to increase the angle of the jitter, you can see that the square boxes are moving in an angle of 15 degrees with each selection. So this is how it is. So I'll just try to put it at 15% right now. We'll also try to understand what scattering is. So scattering, let's increase this scattering to 200%. Just try to delete this. For now, it's 33% by default. Let me just try to increase it to 200%, 300%, 800%. Do you understand something here? Whenever I'm just trying to increase the scattering, all my images are getting scattered. Okay. Here, everything is like getting scattered. So when I decrease it, it's coming in a pure line. So the initial consistency of the brush will be randomly sized and scattered away from the regular pointers. Okay, if you want to change the color of the brush, you can actually do that by changing the foreground color here. You can change the color of the brush. Probably I'll just take an green one, saying okay. I'm just closing this back. I'm just going to my brush tool again. I'm just trying to delete the layer. Just trying to delete this layer as well. I'm just trying to create a new layer again for your understanding. And if I want to create something, I just put the brush tool. I'm just going to my preset, and then I'm just changing my brush tool again here. I'm just changing to this probably, and then I'm just trying to paint. So I see a green thing out here just because I've changed my brush color with the foreground color. So foreground color will also help you change the brush color. Now we'll go back to the tools and probably select the pencil tool. Now this is very similar to the brush tool that we have just seen. So this can use a lot of same preset the brush tool uses, but it functions a little bit differently. When I try to brush here, let me just put the size to 1. So based on the size, same as the brush tool, it is trying to put up the color. In fact, if I open a preset picker, the size would be like, ranging from 1 pixel to, whatever you feel like, 1000 pixels. So you can increase or decrease the size whenever you would like to. So another way the pencil tool differs from the brush tool is how it handles the hardness. If I probably set the hardness to 0%, I'll just change this to 50%, 50 pixels, and I'll just change the hardness to 0%. And then I'm just trying to brush. You see how it's brushing, right? Probably I'll also decrease the brush cursor size. And now if I change the hardness to 100%, let's see how it's brushing. It's one and the same, right? So there's basically no drastic difference when you decrease the hardness. So in pencil tool, the hardness doesn't really give you some effects. So hardness doesn't actually do anything in the pencil tool. So this is how the pencil tool operates. The another thing that sets pencil tool apart is in the options, the auto erase tool. So this is like checked by default. You can uncheck it or you can check it. So auto erase tool actually erases something from your background color. So how will you do that? For an example, I have done something. I've brushed here and I've brushed here. Nothing seems to be erased, right? If I brush again on them, the color is erased. So how do you think the color got erased? And why is this white color coming up? It's because of the background color that is there. If I change the background color to something else, that color will come up. So I'm just trying to brush here, and I'm just trying to brush between here in below, and then when I'm trying to brush on top of the color that is already brushed, it will try to change off. So this is how it works. So whenever you're trying to create a canvas, probably you can play around with this brush tools. If you just select this auto erase, you can create different layers of colors. This is nothing but the background, but you will be able to see like this. If you want some different color ranges, you can go to the background and then change the color. Let's say we'll change the color to something else, then that color pops up here. This is how it works. And another thing that sets apart the pencil tool is with the shift key. So whenever I press the shift key and whenever I try to paint something, it actually comes in a straight line. Okay, for an example, I would like to extend this line. So I'll just hold the shift key, and then I'll just try to put a dot out here. The line comes up. When I'm trying to draw a line, it helps me draw as many lines as possible. So shift key actually helps you draw some vertical lines or some horizontal lines. So this is the best part of it. If you click somewhere on the canvas and press shift key, and hold, then it will click, and if you click on the another position of the canvas, a straight line comes up. So this is all about the brush tools. So if you want to create a canvas from the beginning, you can actually go to the brush tools. You can create a new canvas and then give a background color. Try to play around with the brush tools and the pencils tools, and also there are like many options out here. You can explore each and every option. So this is about the creation tools, guys. Today we have seen the brush tool and the pencil tool in the creation tool. So in the next session, we'll just try to understand more creation tools. So if you have any doubts, you can put it forward. Okay, before that, let's quickly review, overview what we have learned today. So under manipulation tools, we have learned about the blur tool, the sharpen tool, the smudge tool, the dodge tool, the blur tool, the sponge tool, and under creation tools, we have covered the brush tool and the pencil tool. So tomorrow we'll try to understand more set of creation tools. Meanwhile, you can just try to explore the options that are there in the creation tools. So that's it for today, guys. We'll meet tomorrow and understand more tools and options. Have a good day. Bye-bye.